Some people just aren't ready for the truth about the deck of many things. Now, I don't have to tell you what this item is, right? You already know. It's infamous, it's been around since 1975, you get it. But the thing is, I am a bleeding heart 5th edition Dungeon Master at my core, and sometimes when I see the unfeeling dice rolls and brutal consequences of some of these old school rules, it just rubs me a bit raw. But I still see some value in the deck of many things. So today, I want to challenge your preconceptions about what effect the deck of many things can have on your campaign and why players are so attracted to this artifact. Then we're going to look at the best application of the deck of many things in an official adventure, and here's a spoiler, it's from 4th edition. And then we're going to take the lessons we've learnt and apply them to our own magic item to recreate the wonder of this wondrous and treacherous artifact. But first, you see this here sustainably sourced, Australian manufactured Wooten Forge Dice Keeper? This box has nothing to do with you. You're not allowed to touch it, you're not allowed to think about it, you're not allowed to see it, okay? Don't look at this, huh? Don't look. But otherwise, I should let you know up front that the item we're going to apply these deck of many things lessons to is called the Shadow Glass Spindle. There's a PDF available on my Patreon right now for $6. So what's so special about this deck of cards? It's pretty simple. You draw a card and an effect happens. Now the cards are broken into a few different camps. They're either all detriment, which is bad, or they're all benefit, which is good. But the problem is, there's extremes on either end, and the extremely good and the extremely bad are both disruptive to your game. But what attracts players to this deck? There are about 6 things, I think, and the first is power. When the players offered a chance to draw a card, they are envisioning something great happening. They go, wow, I could maybe go up a level, or maybe I could get a magic item or a truckload of gold. Now, all of those things are super easy to manage as a dungeon master. You can balance around that. But there are some things at the extremes that you can't balance for. Like if they draw a card and they get a wish spell. Here's, in fact, a Penny Arcade comic specifically about that occurrence. So I'm saying that even the players draw cards partially with the hope of getting a good effect, the most extreme beneficial effects are something that the players would not enjoy. They could wish for the campaign to be over. That's not fun. But players are also attracted to danger. It's the threat of these dangerous cards. It's that gambler's high. It's that good feeling from being a rat bag and doing the wrong thing. I love it. When the player draws a mildly bad effect, something that just disintegrates all of their non-magical items, they go, oh my god, oh, that could have been so much worse. Oh, I'm a player. Oh. So these extremely negative effects are something that the players would not enjoy. You know, if they drew these cards, they would wish they hadn't at all engaged with this item, even though the other players might laugh at your character being banished to the fart realm or something. In my opinion though, the very best reason to draw one of these stupid cards is drama. Drama, ooh, any card that can act as a plot hook or propel some kind of interesting narrative or roleplay or character development is very interesting. And I will admit that in the right hands, pretty much any card could lead to drama, even though other cards lean into it a bit better. For example, if a character gets banished to the fart realm, then suddenly we're on a quest to go save them. Or if a character gets a wish, maybe that player will wish for something that's productive narratively for the campaign. For like, I wish my dungeon master would run a second session every week. And the cards that really lean into drama, they're summoning allies, or they're converting allies into enemies, or they're changing alignments, changing relationships. But the thing is, when the player goes, I want to draw from this deck, they're not drawing with that drama in mind. They're not going, ooh, I hope that my ally turns against me, right? Even though that is something that they would enjoy. But here's an idea that I think you'll agree with if I can make it make sense. The deck of many things is appealing because people like gambling, right? So follow me on this. So imagine the very best and worst effects that are in the deck, and imagine divorcing those effects from the action of drawing randomly from a deck, right? So would your game be interesting if you just gave the players a wish. Is that fun? Or if you just banished one of the players to Frankston, is that a fun effect on your game? Because I don't think it necessarily is. And I think the fun of those effects is only magnified when it's framed by drawing a card from Satan's Uno deck. Last week I read this book called The Power of Habit, and no, it wasn't about superpowered nuns, it was about why people behave the way they behave. And in relating to gambling, it had an example about pigeons. There was an experiment done with pigeons where they were given two options, light A or light B. If they peck light A, they get a consistent, reliable 1 pellet per peck. But if they peck light B, often, they just get nothing, right? Sometimes they get a little bit, but sometimes they get a big jackpot. And they found that the pigeons overwhelmingly preferred light B with the big jackpot, even though aggregate per peck, pellets per peck for you scientists, it would give less than light A. Now, what this book took away from that is that pigeons aren't motivated by the outcome, how many pellets can I get? Instead, they're motivated by the excitement of the outcome being wildly different from their expectations. And players, of course, are the same way. I'm drawing a connection between pigeons and Travis Willingham willingly drawing 5 cards from the deck of many things and potentially killing his cash cow critical role campaign.
How many cards do you want to pull?
Oh, it'll be a slave.
5 cards? Oh my god, this is
5.
Yeah!
It's gonna be chaos.
Do it! I'm so proud of you!
So my point is that when it comes to the deck of many things, gambling has intrinsic merit to the players. This one might seem silly, but I think one reason that people are drawn to the deck of many things, particularly dungeon masters, is achievement and clout. Because if you drop this nuclear booster pack into your campaign, it comes with bragging rights. And although I will dispute your wisdom, I can't deny I am a little bit impressed whenever I meet someone who's mad enough just risk everything with a draw of the deck. But unfortunately for our purposes, this is a hard-won merit of the deck of many things, and it's pretty much impossible for us to replicate in our experiments today. And here is the particular thing that draws me to the deck of many things. This is the thing that gets me personally excited. It's the theater of this item, because whenever you have this at your table, you will have a physical deck of cards, and players that are in the know will spot that deck of cards and they will just start scraping their nails across the table in anticipation. You haven't even mentioned it yet, but they saw it and they're excited about it. Now, there's a ritual with the deck of many things. You present the deck slowly to the players and you solemnly say, "This is the deck of many things. Now, I'm going to ask you how many cards you want to draw. You will draw that many cards in sequence and we will resolve them one at a time. Once you have chosen how many cards you are going to draw, you must draw them." This prop is just so theatrical. And this is something I really want to hone in when we take these lessons and apply them to our own item. But at this point, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that some of you have been looking at my Wooten Forge Dice Keeper. Now, I want to remind you, this is none of your damn business. Do not look at it. Let me just put this up here so that you don't look. None of your business. But now it's time to address the Matt Colville in the room, because a few years ago, our mate Matty C dropped a video all about the deck of many things. And in this video, he covered what all the cards do, he talked about how to deal with it in your campaign, and one particular solution involved sleight of hand. Now, I will leave a link to this video downstairs in the didgeridoo so you can check it out yourself, but I just wanted to point out that this sleight of hand technique of ensuring that the card you want to appear, that you want to have happen to your players, appears on top, it's viable, right? It's viable if you're only getting the players to draw a single card. Now, I feel conflicted about this. If you're okay with railroading your players and fudging dice rolls, what's weird is I am okay with both of those, then this is fine. But for some reason, I don't feel okay about dramatically mitigating the risk of this infamously volatile artifact. I don't even have a reason. I don't understand why I don't like this solution, but I don't. Now let's look at the very best application of the deck of many things in any official campaign that I've seen. So way back in 4th edition, Wizards of the Coast published Madness at Gardmore Abbey. This is a big old adventure totally focused on the deck of many things. Now the thing is, when I say focused on it, I mean that the entire story revolves around this deck and the players are obsessed with it. They're collecting the cards. It's really, really cool. And it even comes with a physical deck that I will find somewhere so I can display to you. But when I took this out of the box and put it down on my desk, it didn't immediately kill me and catch fire. No, because this deck is milder than the stories you've heard. So there are a few important differences with this deck and the way it's implemented into this campaign. Firstly, this version of the deck is a lot milder. It doesn't have any of those calamity effects that are going to end your campaign. All the disruption effects are gone. Secondly, the story is totally focused on the deck. We get a bunch of lore about the deck. People are talking about the deck. It's a story. It's a story about the deck. It's not just random loot on a table or something the Dungeon Master threw in there because he wanted the clout. Now, in this campaign, the players start with one card in the deck, and then their job is to go around and collect them. The players have direction. That's such an exciting motivation to adventure. And true to 4th edition's design, literally every single card in this deck has an in-combat use and an in-combat effect. And the thing is, Dungeons & Dragons is a tactical combat game, so I love that it's focused on combat. The 5th thing is that the villains, the enemies in this campaign, have mechanics for using the deck as well. It's not just a player item, it's an enemy item, it's a story item, and it's not going to ruin your day. So now, with your head brimming with the knowledge of what's attractive about the deck for players and dungeon masters, and how it has been applied properly in the past, let's distill all of this down into a set of rules and lessons that we can apply to this item, the Shadow Glass Spindle. Firstly, there should be a physical prop at the table, something to build intrigue and anticipation, almost like I've done here. Oh my goodness. So you put your Woot & Forge box full of something mysterious on the table, and the players say, "Hey Dungeon Master, can I please see what's inside your mysterious Woot & Forge box?" No, I'm afraid not, player. This is a deliberate mystery, and good things come to those who wait. Nobody, including me, is allowed to touch or open this box. Oh, that's no problem, Dungeon Master. I love you. And I love you too, player. So literally what I'm suggesting is that you leave this box on your table and tell your players, guys, nobody's allowed to touch this, okay? If somebody opens this, then the campaign's over, okay? I'm going home. Like, really make a point of it. They are not allowed to know what's in this box, and you bring it every session and put it on the table, and every session you say, nobody's allowed to know what's in this box. In fact, if you want, you could even put a special card inside the box, and if a player does open it, it says, if you find this card, you are cursed. And you can use that as a plot hook because their brain has gotten too close to some eldritch horror. And at this point, for context, let me reveal what is inside this box. Inside here are green, tactile, very touchable, very feelable dice that your players are going to want to get their grubby mitts on. Now, the Shadow Glass Spindle, rather than being a deck of cards, is a set of dice. At its lowest level, it starts off at a D4, but it can go all the way up to a D12 as players collect more pieces and combine them. The second lesson is that the player has to go through some kind of physical ritual at the table in order to interact or activate this item. This is meant to lend a sense of gravity to what they're doing. We're trying to build that mythos up. Now, for the Shadow Glass Spindle, what I'm proposing is that when the players finally find one of the dice, right? You can have some kind of cool phrase that you say. You open it slowly and say, your mind has been opened to the possibilities given by the Shadow Glass Queen. And you have all this blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Do you accept this burden? I don't know. You just say something to make it feel important. The third lesson is that rather than waste all this pomp and ceremony and drama that you've pulled out of this item for your campaign, don't waste it in a random encounter table or like a random loot table or just some dragon's hoard, because this item can be used to enhance your story. It's like a whole side quest to itself that could span the full length of your campaign. Dungeon Master, we have found one piece of the Shadow Glass Spindle. Now, we got to catch them all. We got to catch them all. They'll be so excited about that stuff. And the way you do that is by making it a part of your story. There is some lore included with the Shadowglass Spindle PDF about how the luckiest halfling in the world befriended the Shadowglass Queen herself at a tea party and lived a very lucky but tragic life. Fourth lesson is that there should be provisions for the villains to use this item. I mean, have you ever seen an NPC or a villain draw from the deck of many things? Actually, I just remembered that Grog got that random NPC merchant to draw from the deck, and the merchant got wishes. Okay, but there should be a way for like villains and enemies to use this item, because I want scenes where the players go into combat with somebody that they hate and they already know what the Shadowglass Spindle is, maybe they already have a piece, and then the players see me at the start of combat open up the box and take out the next dice, and I use that against them in combat. Ooh, that's exciting. Fifth lesson is that there need to be provisions and uses for this item in combat. This is a tactical combat game. I want to use tactical combat things. So with this item, we have a random effect table of up to 12 results, and each result is useful in combat. They're all combat related, like the first 4 are about healing, then maybe the next 2 are about movement, then damage, and the last ones are about winter because it's from the Shadowglass Queen. But the sixth lesson is that when used outside of combat, this item should impart some kind of dramatic effect. So that's why we have provisions for this to kind of act like the lucky feat, where the player gets to add a little bit to some of their rolls. But when they use the lucky skill on this, it also gives a luck point to me, the Dungeon Master. Yeah, player, you wanted to invoke the luck to be successful in your lockpick? Fine. But I get a d20 now that I'm going to roll whenever I want in the next 24 hours, because this is just the luck equalizing, baby. And this last lesson is the most important thing to bring into your own deck of many things style item. Volatility should not be a measure of how good or bad the most extreme effects are, but it should be a measure of the unexpectedness, that good feeling from getting an unexpectedly good result. So you do need to have something negative in your deck. Maybe you're using dice. Maybe you're drawing straws. Maybe you're flipping coins. But in the Shadowglass Spindle, when you are rolling on that D12 table for your wild magic style effect in combat, if you ever roll a 1, you have to take that result. So for example, let's say you have the first 3 dice, the D4, the D6, and the D8. You can choose to roll all of those if you want, and then you get 3 results, and you get to choose which one you want to apply to combat. But if any of them land on a 1, then you have to take the result of a 1. And that result is that you give that luck point to the Dungeon Master without necessarily getting the benefit yourself. I actually really love this item. I love the Shadowglass Spindle. I think it's the best thing that I've made. It was made in conjunction and partnership with Randall Wright. He did a great job working on this. I'm really glad that it's come out so well. It's available on Patreon right now. Have you noticed that the D&D chases kind of suck? Well, you should check out this video right here because it fixes it, and whoo baby, it's fun.